Hello and welcome to Alasdair Aquatics, guys. I hope you're doing well. I'm really excited for this video. The topic for today's video is I'm going to be setting up a reef tank. Okay, so a saltwater aquarium or marine aquarium. I'm sure this might come as a surprise to a few of you out there who are watching my channel. You'll see that predominantly I've actually only done freshwater tanks and planted tanks. So basically, saltwater tanks is something I've done in the past and really enjoyed. I've run into some problems along the way, and I do still class myself as a beginner. And it's been something that's been on my list to do for quite a while now, and I've finally taken the step and decided to dive right in, no pun intended, into the reef keeping side of the hobby. Okay, so I'm sure you guys might have a lot of questions if you're out there and you've got no experience with saltwater or marine tanks. And throughout the next sort of few videos I upload, I will be mainly focusing on marine and saltwater aquariums and that topic, and I'll be talking about problems and, you know, trying to give people a better understanding of what to do when they want to set up their own marine tank. So the tank I've decided to set up is a Fluval Evo Aquarium. It's 13.5 gallons, which is about 52 or 54 litres. Okay, so reasonable size. I'm looking to stock 2 clownfish, and I'm looking to also have some live coral in the tank. Nothing too high demanding in terms of the coral. I'm still, like I said, I'm still a beginner myself. I do have some experience keeping soft corals and some LPS, so hoping to do the same sort of thing this time. Not sure exactly what corals I'm going to go for. I've got a few ideas. But basically the topic of this video is I'm going to be setting up the tank from scratch. So all I'll be doing is keeping the Fluval Evo, the filtration and the lighting all just stock, you know, what comes out of the box. And I'm going to be having some crushed coral sand, some nice white sand, and I'm going to go for some nice artificial reef rock. Okay, so rather than using live rock that's been taken out of the ocean, I've gone for this, decided to go for this artificial option, which in my opinion looks a lot better, rather than just sort of big boulder shaped things or me having to make my own shapes. It comes sort of pre-formed in some quite cool and interesting shapes. One of the pieces is almost donut shaped, so it has a nice hole for fish to swim through, and the other piece is like an arch, which I think is really cool, and it has the added benefit of being nice to the environment. Okay, so we're not just ripping things out of the ocean, which I think is always a good thing. And I'm going to be stocking it with captive bred clownfish, and all the coral I buy will be sort of tank raised. I guess when the coral grows, they sort of cut bits off of it, you know, so nothing taken directly from the ocean. So yeah, I think that's something I wanted to bear in mind. In the past, I've used something called Marco rock, which is mined and taken out of the ground, and it's a perfect sort of replacement to live rock. Live rock is basically a type of rock which has a huge surface area. It's very porous, so it has lots of tiny holes, and what that means is it has a huge surface area, and of course the higher the surface area, the more bacteria can colonize that rock. Okay, so you might have seen inside your filters, even in freshwater tanks, you'll see pieces of ceramic media or bio balls, you know, plastic balls now have really intricate shapes. What this is trying to do is to increase the surface area so there's more room for as much bacteria as possible. And what that bacteria is going to do inside your filter and in the tank is break down fish waste. Okay, so fish waste is going to break down ammonia into nitrite and then into nitrate. Okay, and nitrate is a lot less toxic than ammonia or nitrite. Okay, so really sort of key thing to get into your head right there is, you know, this biological element of filtration is really, you know, a really big deal when it comes to reef keeping. And I've seen tanks set up before, reef tanks, where they actually don't have a filter on the tank at all. They've only got power heads. Okay, power heads are just basically plastic hooded pieces of equipment that go inside the tank with a propeller, and they make lots of flow in the tank. And what that flow is doing is moving water in and around and through all those tiny holes all around that live rock, basically through the bacteria. So any fish waste or anything like that, any broken down ammonia is going to go through that rock and be broken down by that bacteria into the less harmful nitrate. Okay, so yeah, something to bear in mind. It's not necessarily a concept we use with freshwater. We normally just rely on our filters to do that job for us. You can also rely a bit more on your filter by having some sort of biological media in there. I'm still using the stock filtration that came with my Fluval Evo, which is basically a sponge just to catch any debris. And there's also a small bag of ceramic media, which, like I said, has a huge surface area for more bacteria to colonize. So this is a really interesting idea. I'm really excited to go for it. I'm not going to be using a protein skimmer or anything like that. I'm going to keep it quite a basic setup, especially to start with. Just something that's quite easy to understand, easy for possibly you guys at home to really see what's going on and maybe give it a go yourselves. And throughout the coming months, I will sort of make additions to the tank, make changes, possibly upgrade things. And I hope you're going to enjoy that sort of journey along with me. I am in this tank for the long run, looking to have it set up for as long as I can, and I'm really excited to give it a go. So not taking a break from, we're definitely not taking a break from planted tanks. So I will be constantly doing updates on planted tanks, and I'm sure I'll be setting up any other of my friends' tanks as well if I get the chance. So yeah, definitely will be still staying on the freshwater side of things. What I'll do now is just give you guys a really quick update on my beta tank and my ram tank, which is just out of the shot as well. So I'll give you an update on those two tanks, as they've had quite a lot of sort of love on YouTube, and I'm sure you guys will be interested to see how they're doing. So I'll catch up with you in a bit. Okay, so as you can see, both my current freshwater tanks are going just swimmingly, no pun intended. Yeah, they're doing great. I just wanted to show those two tanks to you guys, as I know you like them, and they're my favourites that I have set up. Alpha is still doing well. Don't know if he's having a snooze or being a bit grumpy as usual, but he's doing great. I've just recently hooked some CO2, this Tropica sort of nano CO2 system back up into this tank, as I noticed some of the carpeting plants were not dying but not necessarily doing the best. So I thought definitely a good idea to get on top of that before it gets any worse. But yeah, this tank is still doing great. There's loads of cherry shrimp in there. Alpha's doing well. The plant's doing great. Just a lovely little tank to have in my room, and something that I think is really easily achievable by a lot of you guys out there. If you just put the time and effort into do an aquascape that you like, and then just give it time, you know, give the plants time to mature, and suddenly you end up with something that you really enjoy. This tank is currently 9 months old, and in my opinion still going strong. I don't have any plans of changing it soon. Definitely going to see how this tank evolves, as I'm really enjoying it. And the slightly newer tank that has been set up for, I think, maybe 2 or 3 months, the tank with my ram in, that really nice Sirius stone, and yeah, it's going well. The ram's doing fine. He doesn't seem to have grown that much, but he's still eating regularly and looking fine. The silver tip tetras are actually something that has really sort of grown on me. I think they're amazing fish and really underrated in this hobby. Beautiful sort of gold colour to their bodies, and the lovely bright white tips. And the fact that they're slightly larger is quite nice. You know, I really like those fish. They're something that I thought, yeah, they're just going to be a sort of dither fish, something out in the open, constantly there. But no, they've really grown on me, and they're really nice fish. So I'm sure in the future, new aquascapes, I'll be sure to incorporate them where possible. And the cory cats are doing great, as is my small albino bristlenose plico, who is growing really quickly. So yeah, both my tanks, both of those tanks are doing well. And yeah, I decided to set up a reef tank. Okay, so this tank has now been moved off my desk and just put onto this small cabinet, and the reef tank is going onto my desk. Not that I've necessarily got bored of this tank, but it has been on my desk for 9 months now, and I'm definitely happy for a change. It's quite nice to also have this tank just here, so when I'm sat at my desk I can always turn around, have a look at it, and it's quite nice for people to see just as they come into my room. Okay, so I thought I'd start off by talking about some of the differences between a marine aquarium and a freshwater aquarium. So obviously a freshwater aquarium, I've just got water at the tap, added my tap water conditioner, and I'm ready to go. But with a reef aquarium or saltwater aquarium, you're going to want to either buy your water from a local fish shop, already mixed and ready to go, or you're going to want to get some RODI water, which is reverse osmosis deionized water. This is basically pure water with no added nutrients or anything like that could cause an algae bloom. You're going to want to have that and add some of your own salt mix to it. Okay, so there's two ways of going about getting that salt water. I've opted for the easier one at the moment, which is just to pop to my local fish shop and get a 25 litre jerry can every month, so I have enough salt water to do my water changes. Another thing to think about is as my freshwater tank behind me evaporates, the water level drops. And I just go downstairs, fill up a jug with some tap water, add a small amount of tap water conditioner, and fill it back up. Job done. So when your saltwater aquarium, when the water inside your tank evaporates, it's actually just the water that's evaporating. The salt in the water is staying behind. So what this means is as your tank evaporates and the water level drops, the salinity, or how salty that water is going to increase. So what you're going to want to do is just top off your tank with RODI water whenever you see the water level drop. What this does is keeps the salinity in your tank the same. And of course, when mixing salt for your saltwater aquarium, you can't just use table salt or anything like that. You're going to want to go ahead and buy a reputable brand for marine aquariums. And there's two ways of going about measuring your salinity. You can use a hydrometer or a refractometer. I've opted for the refractometer just because from my research it seems to be a bit more reliable. Okay, another big difference is of course the look of the aquarium. I think the fish on the marine side of the hobby are stunning. They come in every colour in the rainbow, really beautiful vibrant colours. That's something to bear in mind. Also the actual look of the aquarium itself. With reef tanks you're either going to have normally a bare bottom aquarium with no substrate, or you're going to have some sort of sand. I've opted for sand in my aquarium. I think this just looks a bit more natural, and I really like the bright white look of the sand. Whereas obviously in a freshwater aquarium you have loads of options. You can go bare bottom, sand, gravel, aqua soil. You have a lot more options out there. Another thing to think about is of course what I'm scaping my marine tank with is just rock. Rock which is going to house the bacteria, which is then going to help with my biological filtration. I'm also going to then add corals to my tank. So obviously with a tropical aquarium you have a huge range of sort of aquascaping materials, wood, rock, plants, gravels, you name it. You can add it to your freshwater aquarium as long as it doesn't leach anything into the water. Another key difference is the actual flow inside the aquarium. You can see the tank behind me, it's got a little bit of flow, the water's moving at the top, whereas a marine aquarium, you'll usually see the water at the top flying around. You know, you'll have lots of flow in that aquarium. What you're trying to do is force as much water as you can in and around and through that live rock. Whereas in a freshwater aquarium, because most of the biological filtration is done inside the filter, you're only really worrying about the flow rate through your filter itself. Whereas in a marine aquarium, you're going to want to watch lots of flow in the tank itself. This benefits obviously the biological aspect. Also the fish, a lot of fish like swimming in the high current, as I've experienced with clownfish in the past, and certain corals, they have a demand of how much flow they want. You know, that's another thing to bear in mind. And finally, another key difference is the lighting itself. The lighting in marine tanks is usually a different spectrum, usually a lot more on the blue side of things, which just sort of tries to mimic what you'd have in nature, and is what benefits the corals the most. Okay, so I hope that really did help. I hope it just sort of highlighted some of those key differences and maybe cleared up some issues for those beginners out there. As don't worry, a couple of years ago I was in your shoes. I had not a clue how saltwater aquariums worked. I didn't know where to start. And what I'm hoping is over the next sort of course of the few videos that I do, I really answer some of those questions you guys have. So be sure to leave any questions you have in the comments, there might be some words I've used that maybe you haven't heard before, that more on the saltwater side of things. Feel free to ask and I will answer, or I'm sure someone else on the marine side of the hobby will as well. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is just show you guys a time lapse of me setting up my marine aquarium, and I will then give you a detailed look at it after it's cycled and I've added my first bits of livestock to the tank. As stated before, I am looking to stock 2 clownfish in this tank, along with a selection of corals, which I'm unsure about still, so if you have any ideas, let me know in the comments down below. Okay, so let's see how we get on, and I hope you enjoy. Okay guys, so here's the finished product. As you can see, I did make a change to it. I removed one of the pieces of rock. I just thought I liked this archway quite a lot, and I didn't want the tank to be sort of too jam-packed full of things, and I think it gives off a really simple yet good look. I really like the look of this tank, and as you can see, the 2 baby clownfish. There's a bit of bickering, but I mean that's as expected. In the past when I've had clownfish, they've done the same thing. They've only been together now for I think 1 day, because I had one of them in the tank by itself for a week, and now I've just added in a second. And there's been some typical clownfish behaviour where they've sort of turned their side to one another and sort of shake their bodies. So yeah, really interesting, and I love these fish. They're so fun to watch, so quick, and you know, just love their colours, love the way they swim about. And I've added in a small wave maker in the top right hand corner of the tank just to add some more flow. I mean, the clownfish love flow. Surprising how much flow these guys can handle and how much they just love dancing around in the flow. And the coral, I'll give you some shots later on, but the GSP, the green star polyps in the bottom right hand corner is just starting to open up, which is pretty cool, and I'll show you guys that later. And I've got a Kenya tree coral. You might be able to just catch it. It's sort of on the right hand section of the rock work there, but it's throwing a bit of a tantrum. I've only had it in there for a day, so it's not too happy at the moment, but it will open up and look a lot better in the following weeks. So yeah, I really like this tank. It's such a nice thing to have on my desk. I love the bright white sand. I love the vivid orange colour of these clownfish. They have such personality already, and they're only babies, so I can't wait for these guys to grow up. I've been testing the water, everything's okay. I'm still just running the stock filtration. I don't have a protein skimmer on this tank. I've just got the first chamber is empty apart from a small piece of filter floss I've just put on the intake just to keep the water crystal clear. And in the middle section I've just got the stock foam. It has a small bit of biomedia, some ceramic media, and a little bag of carbon. One thing to bear in mind, if you guys are planning on setting up a soft coral tank like mine, it is important to realize that these corals are almost attacking each other within the tank, and they are releasing toxins, so it's always a good idea to run a bag of carbon in your reef tank just to try and absorb as much of these toxins as possible, which is what I've done in my tank. And then in the chamber at the back just closest to us, you can see my heater there on the right. Just put it in next to the pump. So yeah, I'm really loving this tank, really love the look of it. I particularly like the fact that it's not just sat directly on my desktop. It sort of has this lifted up hovering effect, which I think is brilliant. I have had this tank once before in the past, and yeah, I knew I wanted to get it again. It's for the money you pay. I think it's a great looking tank, great little setup. Yeah, and I just added in the extra wave maker just because I do like a bit of extra flow in my tanks. And yeah, the wave maker is a nano Corellia. I think it's something like 900 litres an hour. So yeah, a lot of flow in this tank, which is what we want. And I am thinking about in the future possibly upgrading certain things about this tank. I'm going to be doing some videos sort of showing my ideas. I've got a possible idea for an in-tank refugium with some macroalgae to absorb nutrients, and things like nitrate, and possibly provide a nice safe haven for copepods and arthropods in the tank, which the clownfish will love to eat, but they do also do a great job as detrivores, eating leftover food and things like that. So yeah, that's an idea I've got for the future. And I'm also looking at possibly getting some custom media racks to put in the sort of back sump portion of this tank, because I don't plan on running a protein skimmer. It's in my bedroom, and I think a protein skimmer would be far too noisy. And doing weekly water changes, I think in a tank this size, weekly water changes of 25-30% is going to be enough. So yeah, I am looking at running possibly some putting some racks in the sump, and possibly putting in there some live rock rubble, just because then I think it'll give the bacteria more surface area to colonize, and I'll have better biological filtration, which is always a positive. Let me know in the comments what you guys think. Are there any other modifications you think I should do? I mean, I'm not putting SPS coral or anything really high demanding in this tank, so I think the stock lighting's absolutely fine for now. I do plan on adding a few LPS corals, which I've done in the past when I've had this tank previously, and they did fine with this lighting, so definitely not looking at upgrading the lighting. But is there any other sort of upgrades or additions that, I don't know if you guys particularly have this tank or you have in a marine tank, what sort of upgrades have you done? And do you think me adding in my sump portion of the tank, quite a lot of live rock rubble, do you think that's a good idea? I've done some research, and people say obviously it's a good idea. You're adding surface area, more bacteria to break down ammonia into nitrite and then into nitrate, which is all good things. But then on the same side, there's people saying, well, if you do this, you're going to have a lot of sort of detritus, fish food, fish waste building up, and that's going to lead to an explosion of nitrate and algae problems. So I mean, I really want to hear your guys' opinions. What have you done in the past with your reef tanks, as I am open to ideas. And at the moment, all I'm running is just, like I said, the stock filtration media. The tank is kept at a temperature of about 78 degrees Fahrenheit, and that seems to be perfect. That's what I've always run my marine tanks on in the past. So yeah, it's going to be an interesting few months, an interesting journey to see how this tank progresses. I do plan on keeping this tank long term. So yeah, it's going to be interesting. The reason I have those green star polyps just on the bottom right hand corner is just to try and isolate them, because I've had them in the past and they do grow quickly, and if I was to have them on that main rock structure, they could very quickly engulf the whole thing. And I'm possibly going to see if they grow up that back wall of the tank. That might be interesting as well. But yeah, are there any corals in particular you guys like? I mean, I want something that's quite easy to care for, something you think will do well in this tank. Nothing that's going to have too many sweeper tentacles or anything like that. I am planning on getting some hammer coral, but from previous experience, as long as I keep them a few inches away from other coral, there shouldn't be any problems. But yeah, I mean, what coral should I add in here? Like I said, xenia is a possible idea. I've had it in the past, but again, that grows like crazy, and we could quickly end up with a tank filled with xenia, and I'm not sure if that's the look I'm going for. But yeah, I'm really interested to know what you guys think. I'll be sure to keep you guys updated, and what I'll do now is just leave you guys with some nice footage of the tank. So I hope you enjoy, and I'll catch up with you towards the end of the video. Okay guys, we've come to the end of the video. I really do hope you've enjoyed this one. I've had a brilliant time setting up this little reef aquarium on my desk. I think it looks fantastic. I'm really eager to see how it evolves as time goes on. I'm sure you are too, so I'll definitely keep you updated. It's so nice to have such a change to my normal freshwater aquarium. I really love the look of it. And the corals are doing well. I mean, one of them, the green star polyps, has just started to open up. And at the end of this video, I'll leave you a little clip of what it looks like under the blue lighting. It really pops lime green. It looks absolutely stunning. The Kenya tree coral is currently a bit stroppy. I've only just added it recently, so hopefully over the next week or so it will calm down and you'll get to see it when it's fully extended. At the moment it's all sort of shriveled up and really not happy. But yeah, other than that, things are going great and I really love this tank. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. I hope it's maybe cleared some things up for those beginners out there, those people looking at starting a saltwater tank. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments. And like I said, I'm still a beginner myself, so there might be a few things that might not be 100% correct, or I'm just going off my own research and my own personal experience. So throughout the next few videos, I will be focusing on the marine side of things. Leave some ideas for video content in the comments as well. I mean, what do you guys want to see? Do you want to hear more about corals? Do you want to hear more about filtration for a marina tank? Do you want to just hear about the equipment? You know, what ideas do you guys have? I really would like to know. So I hope you've enjoyed this one, and until next time guys, it's bye for now. Don't forget to leave a comment, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. See you in the next video.